What do you want to do?
This last Saturday, I won a contest. It was a Husker Fantasy Football Camp. So I went down, and I was a football player for the morning. I mean, we went through drills. I threw the football. I kicked field goals. And about 15 years ago, they told me I'd never walk again. So I'm giving my testimony, and I'd like to give my shout out to Makovica Therapy, and Joel and his crew, Dan and everybody, for helping me make it through the last 10, 15 years and giving me, and especially Joel, he gives me the momentum to keep going. So I guess I could check something off my bucket list. I kind of did it as a, kind of a memory to my son. He was a real Husker fan. And I always wanted to be a football player when I was in junior high and high school, but girls don't play football, right? So I was going to in high school, I blew my knee out, so there went that. But that's always been a kind of on my bucket list. So I actually got to check something off my bucket list. And I took my son's best friend, Lori, and we went out there, and Steve was looking down on us because I did the whole thing. So, I know he's with me. Sun came shining. It was a good day. So anyway, that's my testimony. Don't give up. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're not going to do something, because you can. I believe everything's 75% mental, 25% skill, learning, whatever you want to call it. So I believe in the mental game. So get up every day and be thankful that I can walk. That's a good thing for me. So anyway, got my co-host here. I had a great time with them last week.
Indeed.
So I would like to have him introduce our guest tonight. And tonight we're kind of dedicating to the youth in our community. And people know me, know that's what I do, I've done, and I will continue to do. There's been many paths, toes I've had to step on to do what I've tried to do. And I'm going to keep stepping on toes and whatever I got to do to make a difference to our kids. Because I'm tired of the shootings. I've had 5 basketball players get killed by violence. I've had players that have been involved in violence. And like my son says, Mom, you can only do so much with them. They're adults now. But if you can make a difference to them in their young lives, I think that will transcend into them as adults. So it's on you, my friend.
All right. Today with us we have Coach's Place, my favorite gaming lounge in the city. Let's start off. We have Kevin over here, and we have Wanda over here. How long have you guys been around?
Actually, we opened it back in 2013.
Speak into the mic.
Actually, we've been open 1 year now. October 6th, 2013, we opened our doors to Coach's Place.
And how's it been going so far?
Oh, it's a small business owner. It has its ups and its downs and its surprises, and the business plan has changed directions several different times since this first coming year. And we've had our anniversary. Okay. But yes, it's a joy because Coach's Place is basically about kids, as well as you can have an adult that be 35, 40 years old, can still be a kid and enjoy the activities and being around the youth as well as still being young.
And I'm 33. I love going. I was just there on Saturday.
Yeah, I know that's what you told me.
They had a great deal
I
going
didn't
on.
get invited, though. I'm sorry, but you know what I said.
You got to get on the text list. They got a text list. You get on the text
Hey, I
list.
just liked him on Facebook. You can like him on Facebook.
Yes, you did.
Coach's Place. What is your Facebook page?
Coaches is actually, I believe Facebook is Coaches Place.
I'm gonna find it right now.
Oh,
I'm
that's
gonna
good.
find it right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
The memory goes.
the memory is the fact that
You know what? I'll tell you what.
I'm not good with Facebook.
Hey, I'll tell you what though. Games. You know, people say, "Why are you always playing them games?" You know, I have fibromyalgia, which is a horrible thing to have. And when I forget things, I can say literally and actually I have fibrofog. Yeah, my kids say I just don't remember things. But playing games is good to get your mind working, and you want to keep your mind working. So yeah, that's my excuse for playing Panda Pop and my games.
I just don't want to grow up, so that's my excuse. But while I have it up, Janae did change it when I sent her a tip a while back. So it is just facebook.com/Coach's Place. So that's the place to be. If you are in Omaha and you are a gamer, stop by Coach's Place. It's a family business. Love these guys. I go there every now and again when my wife lets me. No, just joking. I do go every now and again.
Okay, so what exactly is Coach's Place? I mean, you go in there, say, give us a rundown. You go in, and then what's there?
Coach's Place is a video gaming lounge, basically, similar to like a club. A lot of people remember Boys Club back in the day where you could go and just enjoy doing different things. Well, it's kind of like Coach's Place where you play video gaming. That's what it is. You can play the Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, the Wii. We even have it set up to where you have the Connect. A lot of times little girls, they come in and they don't necessarily play video games, but they love to dance. So we'll put Michael Jackson on, dance, whatever, dance club, and they can also play as well. We also have birthday parties for any ages from, we've had it where you had a 6 or 7-year-old could have 5, 10, 15 kids come in. They have a birthday party with a cake, special announcements, the whole 9 yards. And then you also have, we do a STEP program, which is set up for youth. We target mainly the 15, 16, 17-year-olds. That where we got right now, we have 2. One kid comes all the way from, I believe it's Plattsmouth, and the other one goes to North. And they come in on a Saturday. They work a little bit. We teach them about business. We teach them about respect, of course. We teach them about finances, marketing, different aspects of a small business and how it's run. We also have a lot of tournaments where we may have tournaments of Call of Duty, for example. Then we'll switch over. We may have a tournament with Madden 15. Then we got NBA, 2K. We do different types of tournaments. Then we also do Smash Brothers, and we have them on the calendar.
That's my game. Back in the day? Oh.
So we have something for the very young as well as the very old. You know, I say that, and a lot of people don't understand that the gaming business has been around a while now. So your average gamer is right about between 30 and 35 years old because games have been out so long. So you're still, even though you're older adult, you still have the kid in you. So.
Well, that kind of, you know, some people don't like to go to the bars and hang out. So that's kind of alternative thing for, you know, sometimes the wife or even the woman, the husband don't like you on your game system all the time. So that's kind of a way maybe just to stay out of the bars, you know, and do what you like to do, bring in a friend and kind of just hang out. Right. So is there food available or anything, or can they bring food in? I mean, you know, probably they're there for hours playing games.
Well, there's definitely food there. That was the deal on Saturday. You didn't have to pay for your gaming. You just buy a drink and some snacks, and you play for free from 2 to 6.
Okay, so do you charge by the hour, or how? Okay.
Yes, we charge by the hour. Basically, actually, we go as far down as half an hour. You know, we try to keep it affordable. Anybody can come in and play. Say you come in, you and Janelle come in and say, okay, I want to play NBA 2K. That's 2 people on one system. We're charging by the system, not by the individual. And it's free to come in. So you could come in together, sit down and play, say, an hour on 360, cost you $6 between the both of you. So y'all can play together. Then you can switch over if you want. You can switch to another game before the hour's up and say play Madden football for another half an hour. Within that hour, the price is the same. Come in, you get your snacks, have a good time, and meet people. That's what I wanted to. Our atmosphere is to meet other gamers that do the same thing you like to do. You take a football player, he goes to the football game, and they all play together. They know each other. Well, gamers don't really do that too much because they're all sitting at home in that little room. Well, we wanted to make it to where kids can come in and meet other kids that play the same game they play and learn how to play together.
Okay, so if the kids come in, do they have to come in with an adult? I mean, you have to be, say, if they're 7 years old, do they get, I mean, sometimes, you don't want to become a babysitting service, right?
Correct. That is very correct. We use pretty much the same rules you would use at home. You wouldn't leave a kid at home by themselves at 8, 9, 10 years old. I believe that number is around 12, 13 years old. If they come in at 13 and above, we usually ask the parent to leave their cell phone number where they can be contacted immediately. Matter of fact, we're just now going to a permission slip,
That's
which
what I
will
was
have
just
all that
gonna ask you.
information. That way, if they leave them, we have ways of contacting them, and we're not totally responsible for them, but we'll watch them, of course. But there's the one thing about it. We have zero tolerance level. You mess up one time, that's all it takes.
Okay, so you have rules then when they come in?
Oh, yeah. I'm a
Okay.
coach. So definitely, we always.
Yeah, I remember when I ran the Bryant Center, I had like 5 rules where you went by, like no saggy baggies, got to watch your message, what's
That is
coming
one
out
of
of
the
your
rules.
mouth.
Like you go to their site and it says no do-rag, no sagging pants.
That's exactly what mine was too. You got to watch your language, no F-bombs,
Right.
And you find out that kids will police each other after a while because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want their friend to leave, so they're, hey, check it because, we want to stay here and make this a good place for people to come. So, yeah, you and I seem like we're on the, came from the same cloth there.
See, when you're
We're
coaches,
coaches.
you
We're
kind of
coaches.
think along the same lines.
Exactly.
You travel with kids. I've traveled with kids, so you kind of understand. You've already been through what they'll try you and what they
Oh,
won't.
you know it. And I also work with mentally challenged adults for a full-time job, so my radar's up all the time. I can spot an incident or behavior before it happens. My gut tells me it's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, where are you located at then?
Actually, we're located at 318 South 72nd. We're right between Red Lobster and Firestone. Actually, right next to the Hideout. When you see Mattress Firm, we're right there in the back on the same strip mall.
And Ambition Salon, where my wife works, and that's how I met these guys. My wife used to actually have, well, in the salon she works at, it used to be a 2-bay salon. They shut half of it down. These guys came in and took the other half. So
you get your hair done, go and play a game, and wait for the manicure to come up.
no,
I'm
they
just kidding.
actually do a great deal for
I'm just kidding.
for kids. If you're a patron of the salon and you come with a kid, your kid doesn't want to be sitting waiting for you the whole time.
Exactly, right.
They will offer you, a deal where.
Well, y'all got to
bring
work
your kid
together in your
over.
small business.
Oh, you have to.
You know.
You have to.
Otherwise, the big businesses, they think they run the place. So,
Yes.
okay.
Small
So, how
business.
big is your place then?
Ooh, we hold about a good 75 to 80 people. at
Oh,
one
really?
time. Yeah, that's
What?
probably the max.
And how many for like tournaments? I can never remember how many, but it's like what 12 TVs for the tournaments.
Well, it depends on how we set it up. We can do a Call of Duty where we can set up 16 systems
16.
to play at one time against each other.
So, say like we want to have a tournament, we want to put on a tournament, like a fundraiser tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We got a youth group, and they were supposed to be here tonight. The Warriors football team, they're doing a fundraiser right now. We're trying to raise money so they can go to Florida.
Right.
So if we want to put on, say, like I said, a fundraiser, and we want to rent, do you have a specific room? And if we want to put on like a little tournament,
Well, we've
so
already,
how do you charge for something like that?
Well, we've already had a couple of fundraisers like that for different organizations, and what we usually do is we try to get the person that's leading the team or the fundraiser. We tell them go out, get you about 64 people, sign them up, and then they can come in. And what we usually do is charge basically $5 plus say whatever they charge and what they're trying to make. So basically, they get 75% of whatever money they raise. And that's what it is, a fundraiser. Most fundraisers, people give 10%. We usually give anywhere from 50 to 75% of the money back to the organization.
Okay, so you say somebody wants to charge 10, how long will they play? I mean, the tournament, I don't know how this works.
It could be a whole day, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't matter. What matters to me is how much money we can raise for the organization that's trying to raise money for kids.
So what's the best way to promote something like just Facebook, word of mouth?
Well, actually, Facebook.
Facebook does wonders for promotions.
Twitter. Yeah, oh, for sure. Online is very crucial right now. As a matter of fact, it's bigger and larger than actual television and newspapers. They tell you don't go that direction because you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to spend money nowadays with
No, you
social
don't.
marketing.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I already said the Facebook page. The Twitter page is @coachesplace or @coaches_place. So if you want to follow them on Twitter and know about all their events and all their free play that they have going on, make sure you check in with them.
Actually, the best thing to do is go with the text like that you got Saturday. We have a text alert where you can dial 55469 and send a small text to Coaches Info. You know, when you do that, it'll prompt you to a website. You hit on that. A link, I should say. It'll take you to the website. Then you automatically go to our Facebook page.
Okay, so what's your hours then? I mean, how late are you open for kids that, say teenagers or?
We actually open, Tuesday through Sunday for the most part. Sunday we use for special events or whatever. Somebody wants
Family
to have a
days.
birthday party. Yeah, family days. That's what we use Sunday for. But mainly on Tuesday through Friday, we're open till 9. We open at 2. When no kids get any ideas, skipping school, come play some video games.
I was just going to ask you that. You
First
open
thing
at
Coach
10
going
or?
to say is no. Why you ain't in school? Now on Saturday we open at 12 and we close at 10.
Okay, so when there's days when there's no school,
We
do you open up earlier?
Actually, we do.
Okay.
Days that they don't have school, or even a week that they're out of school, we open up. Then we open at like 10 o'clock,
Okay.
and it will stay open, till pretty much the kid is picked up and gone home.
Okay, so say you get I'm just trying to think of like what could be an issue, but say you have a bunch of kids in there and the adult and somebody else wants to come in and play. How do you say go by the hour? Do they reserve like 3 hours? Because what if you have people that want to come in but the kids won't leave? I mean, do they got to pay up front? Or how does that work? Say a kid who comes in, you say go by the hour. What does he pay up front, or are you going to wait? How do you know they're going to pay? That's what I'm asking.
We usually pay up front, and then what we do is we write up a ticket. We have a person in the back that takes the ticket. And they keep track of the time.
But they do have the opportunity where they can actually extend their time. So even though they may have came in and said, I want to play for an hour and probably pay for that hour up front,
right.
We allow them to extend, Now, sometimes we run specials also where we may say, come in, pay $5, and for $5 you can play all day long. Now, in cases like that, if we're doing something like that and we allow them to play all day long, like you said, if we have a lot of people come in, we may have to switch people up, because if somebody comes in and they're sitting there and they've maybe played $5 and they're coming in and they're playing and they want to play on something like, for example, the Xbox One, which is one of the newer systems, and somebody comes in and they're willing to play more and they bring other people and they're willing to pay, that hourly thing or something because they didn't come in and just pay the $5,
right.
Then yeah, we're going to try and move those people out of the way, because you only paid $5 and the other person who's coming in paying more, we're going to allow them to get on those systems and pay for it that they want to play on. So, but in the case when it's not a lot of people in there, then come on in, enjoy.
Like I said, you are a business, so you got to think business-wise on something like this. So otherwise you'd have kids hanging out there all day, and at the end of the day you'd say, well, you owe $30. I don't have $30. So that's why I was asking,
Right.
Do they pay up front?
They pay up front.
Because that way you don't get stiffed.
Well, and they also do have an option for, you can purchase ahead of time. Say you want to get a gift for someone. They do have little Coach's Place gift cards that they'll ring up for you. You take it with you. You use it like a gift card. How you would use it anywhere else. So
Like
you
a
just
credit
bring it
card
in.
type thing, see if they use it a little bit here and a little bit there.
No, just an actual little card.
Right.
So they'll
Yeah.
say you paid $10 per hour. It'll be a $10 card.
Oh,
You come
okay.
in, you
Yeah.
turn it into them.
Right.
Yeah.
They say, hey, I want to play for this long. Good to go.
We also have club cards as well. You can pay, I believe it was 60. We dropped it, didn't we?
50.
We dropped it to 50, where they can pay 50 a month, and then you can play as long and whenever you want to play. Because you realize we keep the top 15 games that come out. So anytime a game comes out, we're buying it, having it on the shelf, and our motto is if we don't have it, we'll get it.
Okay, so some of these games, like you say, you bring new ones in. Can they buy the old games from you? Can they?
No.
Okay.
We're not selling anything. No games.
Okay,
Only
so what do you
snacks
do?
and
What do you
drinks.
do? No, I'm just saying, No, you're not selling games like gamers. I'm just saying
Right.
when a game, it gets kind of stale, people don't want to play it. What do you do with those games then? Do you donate them to places or can people buy them?
Actually, we've had requests for people to buy them, even as well as our systems.
Right.
But as we buy Xbox Ones versus 360s, the 360s are being phased out. But up to this point, right now, we haven't sold anything. I believe we've taken old games and do small tournaments and use the games as raffles, because we'll do a raffle on it and give them out as gifts. We do have a couple of sponsors that sends us stuff like what is it?
Gamer Mods.
Was one of them, and
Squid, yeah.
So is this a new thing that's been happening? Because I really honestly never heard of it until, I was talking to Danielle here, but is it new, is it a new thing? Do other cities do this, or is this kind of a new thing that's just popping up, or?
Actually, you can find it in other cities. That's what we did. We visited one in Atlanta where we were able to go in and look, see how it was set up, how it was ran. But here in Omaha, that we know of, we're the only one to actually do it Monday through Friday. And you can find a tournament. There's other people out there doing tournaments, but they're not open like we are.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, if you go online, they have gaming is really big, and I think right now Omaha just has not yet quite come to senses with what's out there, because they have the Major League Gaming, just like you have Major League Baseball and you have everything else.
Oh, yeah, I know they have
There's-
conventions and everything.
Exactly.
So.
There's conventions that go on. I mean, and actually sometimes conventions are going on here in Omaha, but
Right.
gaming just has not
But
gotten.
this is kind of like a
it's-
quiet little thing, isn't it?
It
I
is.
mean,
It is. But, you go to the large cities like he was stating, out in Atlanta, you go to Dallas, all those large cities, if you go, they have places like this. And in places like this out there, it's big. They hold huge tournaments. You have people come from miles and miles away.
Yeah, I know
that
they have
actually
one in
come and
KC,
play. Yep, KC
right.
has one out there as well. So, it's just a thing of trying to get Omaha up to speed here and say,
Omaha's
okay,
behind on a lot
we're
of things.
here.
We need, that's what we're trying to do here. That's what we've been
Yeah.
trying to bring in is,
Right.
I always say there's not enough for kids to do, and there's not.
Right.
And that's why they're getting in trouble.
Yep, and that's the one thing we're trying to let them know. So many kids that do like the game, and we're here, and you can come and you can game, and it's not an expensive thing. We have coming up even this Saturday where we have a student date, and with the student date that we have coming up this Saturday, we're allowing students to come in and we're just asking you to show you an ID, show you're a student, and you can come in and game for $8. For $3 hours, for $8 to play on the 360 or the PS3, or if you want to play on the Xbox One or the PS4, it's $10, and that's for 3 hours, and food is included. So I mean,
So
it's
what
like,
kind of food do you guys have then?
well, usually when we do things like that, we may bring in like sandwiches, we bring in pizzas. Those are the kind of things we bring in. So we'll actually get that from whether it's Domino's or pizza or Subway or.
So do you
wherever
have
we go.
people
And-
that are kind of hooked up that you work with?
Yep, that we work with the different companies, and we get deals with them. And
See,
we
I need
work
to bring in
with
my
them to
famous
bring it in.
brownies.
Yeah,
My players will vouch.
Yes.
Yeah, because I have a scholarship fund I have set up
Okay.
for my son.
Okay.
And I always trying to think of ways. I give out probably about $5,000-$6,000 worth of scholarships.
Okay.
To different things, just because that's what he wanted me to do.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what we're doing. So we're definitely encouraging kids to come out this Saturday, and come and game. I mean, you can't beat $8 for 3 hours to come and game.
Well,
and
yeah, some
food
kids
is
don't like to
included.
watch the football game, so and parents don't like the
Right.
kids hanging. So bring them 70. That's right between Dodge and Pacific. Then
Yeah.
that's a good place to have
Right
it.
over
so.
by Firestone.
Right,
You
right.
See that Firestone? You take the next right.
I mean, and we even for the family, we've had a situation where you've had couples that come in that actually went out on a date and they stopped by just to game together and play together, and as well as on a Saturday we may have the Husker game on, but we still have video games going at the same time. Matter of fact, even for the Super Bowl. We always do a Super Bowl. We did a Super Bowl.
So how long you been around?
Just a year. Just a year. But we're trying different things, and we reached out to the community also. Tell us what you want. And we're willing to try to, diversify to fit the needs of just the kids.
Right now we're going to get your name out there. Between him and me, we'll get your name out there because the city needs this. They need a lot of things. And, I think we have somebody here from the Hope Center.
Yes, Jason McGee.
Jason, you can pop in here with us. We all like to, bring it together as a whole because we're all in it for the same reason. So, and the Hope Center, I've been a part of the Hope Center forever. Pastor King and I go way back.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell him you said hello.
Tell Pastor King you met Donnie. He'll just laugh. Trust me. So,
all right, fantastic.
Anyway, we're talking about different things. Try to bring things together. Maybe the Hope Center and game. The whole thing.
Sure.
It can all work out. And there's other things. I don't know why we just can't have a community day, and we can bring all this together as one day, and that way we can get all the things out there. Have our own little expo.
Hey,
That's good.
What, Jason?
Yes.
December 6th, I believe we're having an expo at your place, right? Not at your house, but
I believe it'd be accurate to say it's in the works.
yes, it's in the works.
That is something that we would like to do. Yeah, absolutely.
So probably December 6th or December 7th, we'll be doing a little expo at Hope Center for Kids. We have to square away the details and whatnot, but that'll be going in, and hopefully Coach's Place will be there and a bunch of other businesses that I know, as well as some other small organizations, nonprofits.
So detailed towards the youth, though, and different things, or just in general?
Just in
expo?
general. But I definitely want, like the last one that we had at the Kroc Center, we tried to have a few things like Coach's Place. We had Heinz Glow airbrush tattoo. We did like a story time. And then we had a Booth Babes, a little photo booth. So we try to cater some of the things to the youth where they could come out and still have a good time. So we're still trying to build up some momentum to actually get people to come and attend events like that. But yes, we'll have another one coming up.
We need to. I was telling that for the last 2-3 years I've been trying to do all whiteout day at a basketball game. I thought about football, but then I'm thinking no basketball because I know a lot of the coaches and stuff. Have everybody wear white during, say, like Friday night games. Everybody but the teams. Have us all come together, have different groups come in, different people come in and explain what we're doing, but kind of bring a sign of unity that we're all together as one. Because I know I was sitting, you sit at a game, all of a sudden, a fight will break out. And it's not because it has anything to do with the teams.
Right.
It's just because they know somebody's going to be there, and they come in after them. So maybe that's something we can do before the expo to get this thing to the expo promoted, and all these different things that we're doing with flyers, coupons, or whatever we can do. And I think if we go to OPS as a group, we can probably pull something like that. Maybe have something going on in the Hope Center that night afterwards. Have a special thing at Gamers, at your place. I'm sorry, Coach's place, and bring it all together as one night.
Right.
And this is something it's been dear to my heart for a couple of years thinking about doing. But what are they going to do? Tell us no? But they will. They always, put up red flags for everything.
Right.
But I think we need to do something, especially, during the winter. There's nothing for these kids to do.
Yep.
Right.
So what are they going to do? They're going to hang after the games in the parking lot, do whatever. So if we give them positive things to do after the game, I think we can start something, and maybe other groups will open up to the same idea, and we'll give these safe havens for kids.
Correct.
And not even kids,
Just
young
people.
adults,
Period.
And because parents, they're going to go out and do their club thing, so where's the kids? Walking the streets. And that's
true.
where you hear it on the news. Every morning you get up, and it's like, oh, man, what happened now? Another shooting.
Well, see,
We'll bring the mayor, we'll bring the city in on it. We'll make it a proclamation by the city. There's no reason why we can't do this. It's going to help everybody, small businesses, whatever.
See, and that's why, I always feel blessed to meet people like these guys.
That's how I met you.
Yep.
I mean, that's
I'm
how
just always trying to help where I can. So
Yeah.
if I can help you, I'll definitely try. And I believe that it may not be the same exact belief that we each individually have, but I think it's close enough to where we can all come together and there not be any friction because we have the same goal in mind. with trying to
Well, there
do
shouldn't be
things and bring
friction
people
anyway.
together. Oh,
You know,
but you
there-
know
oh,
there
I
are
know,
some
I already
people.
know. You know, I was just saying earlier that me being a woman coaching boys, that seems to be a big problem around here. You know, I don't understand why. You know, but for some reason, I'm not allowed. You know, I don't understand it. Somebody's really going to explain this to me. But I don't understand a lot of things, and I know Omaha's considered a small, big city. Omaha and Nebraska is behind a lot of things. And like we were saying, a lot of things. So we need to bring it all up to snuff here. You know, otherwise they're going to get their cars. They're going to go to Lincoln. They're going to go to Kansas City, you know, and because we don't have it here. Well, why don't we have it here?
Yep.
You know, see, this is where I'm not censored, so I can say, but anyway, you have the restaurant tax. You know, figure give a kid $5. Where's that getting them anywhere? You go to a movie and it costs an arm and a leg. You know, I went to a movie with my son. It's like $11 a piece. And then popcorn, $18.50 for popcorn and pop. It's like, wow. And you can't take a family.
Oh, no.
You take a family of 5 or 6, you're going to spend $100 to a movie. When you can wait a couple months, it's going to come out on DVD. So where's the family going to go as a group? There's nowhere to go.
See,
Go to Funplex, Dave & Buster. It costs you a fortune.
That's why I love those guys. I always told my wife, if I ever had a business for things like movies that drive me crazy, if I ever have a chance to open my own business, it will be something where families can go and not have to spend an arm and a leg. I like Coach's Place. Hope Center, they have a bunch of programs for kids after school where families can, what is it, $10 a year or something like that?
For members, yeah, $10 a year.
$10 a year. Where are you
Yeah,
gonna find
I've been
$10 a
involved with
year?
Hope Center. Oh, my God. We were the only team that ever won section. I mean, you know, back when the old boys club used to be there. And like I said, Pastor King, you know, we've been friends for a long time, and I always donate teams to Hoop It Up or whatever I'm doing. I always try to give back, and I brought in the And One guys. They started their own little basketball. I brought those guys in, you know, main event in them. So I try to involve, you know, all the groups I can. And luckily I'm keeping contact. I'll just stop in and say hi, you know. They always know I got something cooking.
Yeah,
You know, it's because we have to.
Right.
And I don't know why other people don't care or don't want to take the time. My kid's 24. My kid, he's a grown man. He's doing his own thing now, but I still care about the kids. You know, because some of these are my ball players' kids, you know. And knowing that somebody has to lose a child, you know, my son took his own life, you know, and nobody ever, and I speak to youth groups and stuff about this, and nobody would believe that Coach Donna's son, Coach Steve, you know, killed himself. You know, and I'm not afraid to say he killed himself. Because if you don't say the word killed, kids don't take you serious.
Seriously, right.
You know, he didn't pass away, no. He took his own life. You know, he planned it for 2 years. I had no idea. So, you know, they say parents, you don't know your kids. My son and I did everything together. I mean, we were together, we were inseparable. I had no idea. He'd planned it for 2 years. You know, so you don't know. Do you ever talk to your kid? I talk to my kid every day, but I still didn't know. So just think about these parents that don't talk to their kids. No idea. You know, there's been kids in Plattsmouth. You mentioned Plattsmouth. This young man took it, you know, he killed himself.
Yes, he did.
And I'm going to go out there and talk to those kids. You know, sometimes kids can't talk to parents, can't talk to teachers, can't talk to coaches. They need somebody that doesn't know them. Just need to sit and listen without being judged. Because kids are terrified to tell somebody because they're going to tell somebody else. And then we were talking about social media. Man, it's out there. Kids, I don't care what you do, somebody's going to find out about it. Somebody's taping you. You know, it happens. I mean, it's just, you're free reign right now. You're a target. Everybody's a target. We had a show on bullying last week, and I kind of want to know why you guys are sitting here about the bullying situation. We were talking. We had a pretty good discussion on this. OPS isn't very strict on their policies. If they are, they don't promote them. You know, they're in the book what they are. It's zero tolerance, but it's still going on. You know, kids are running out in front of trains, you know, and killing themselves because they're getting bullied. And a lot of it's social media. You know, people can talk big behind the phone, texting, Facebooking, whatever, But if you brought them in here, put them in their same room together, neither one of them would say anything.
Couldn't say a word.
So I think we've lost, and I want to know your guys' opinion on, you know, I'm on Facebook, but I always try to promote good things. You know, I tell people if you're going to put something bad, then defriend me. I will not listen to negativity or whatever, your half-naked women on here. I don't care. Kids get on my Facebook. I don't care. My nephews get on there. I don't want them to see what you people put out there. I don't care about the club. You know? So, but I want to know what you guys think about the bullying situations going on in the community right now and what you think we could possibly do to help that out. I mean, there's places to go. We know that. You know, so what's the board? Do you guys do something at Hope Center? Talk about bullying and...
That's a great question. You know, it's kind of a couple of things, my thoughts. I mean, it's pretty prevalent in the youth culture today. I mean, the thing with social media, one, it's so accessible. And also with so many kids connected and so many kids already interconnected, it becomes very easy, like you said, a situation where you can say one thing, and then next thing you know, it's a network. Now, you know, you don't just put that for one person or a group of people to hear. You could potentially put that out for several hundred people, you know, and so it has an opportunity to kind of snowball and become a bigger issue. So simpler issues are complicated sometimes with social media, and that can lead to just really easy bullying, really is what it is. And so, you know, at the Hope Center, some of the things that we try to do is number one, just help kids understand and build empathy. That's one of the things we actually use a model of care that is related to like a Boys Town model of care, teaching social skills and conflict resolution. So one thing that we try to help our young people understand is, you know, number one is how do you build empathy for another person? How do you work and how do you understand? I actually had a conversation with a young lady before I even came over here about, you know, it's not just about you. The things that you post, the things that you say, how you react to other people, you know, that has larger implications. It's hard for them to understand. I mean, kids, especially adolescents, are at a point where, you know, they react because their brain development is a little bit different than adults' brain development. They're more impulsive. So all those things could be potentially disastrous, you know, when it comes to bullying. So like the conversation with the young lady, just helping her walk through and understand that there's larger implications for the things that you put on social media, and getting them to sit down and broker a conversation. How did that affect this young lady? How did that affect that young lady? And hopefully that's just one of the interventions, one of the tools that we try to do is build relationship with our young people. When we build relationship with them, they're more than likely to listen to us when we're using those teaching interactions and teaching those social skills. So simply by being adults that care about them and their lives, propose different tools, and really we're just trying to support what parents are trying to do in the home. Those are some of the tools and techniques we use to address some of those bullying situations and how to appropriately use social media.
Okay,
yeah,
so do you bring parents in? I mean, say if a child comes into you, and even at Coach's place, you know, your kid comes in, you know in one way, and all of a sudden he comes in a couple weeks later, he's, you know, more into himself, he's more quiet, you know, there's something going on, right? So do you bring parents in part of this group? I mean, as a big, I'm not just saying don't be selective just like this kid's parents because the kid will shut down. That's what kids do. I mean, everybody does that. So do you have group discussions? I know counselors and whatever, you know, they do, and the kids will still shut down. Right. And the parents, they're not going to tell you the truth because they don't want to be part of the problem, even though you know, pardon the expression, they are, you know. So like I said, I didn't know my son even had issues, you know. Absolutely. So do you bring the parents in?
You know what, we have great programs at the Hope Center, and some of them really are based off group discussions with young people. So like you mentioned, Pastor King, we'll have some staff and we'll have members of the community that might come in and say, hey, this is something we know our kids are struggling with, so we're going to talk about this, and we're going to have a free and open discussion. We have some of those as part of our programs, and if a young person comes to us and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, that might be an opportunity for us to say, okay, maybe if you feel comfortable, let's bring in your parents. Let's bring in a school counselor. Let's bring in, we want to try to increase as much support for those young people as possible. Because, you know, along those lines, our young people in those groups, what really comes out is they're dealing with a lot. just a lot, like more than maybe we can ever imagine. Especially young people we deal with at the Hope Center, maybe they're subject to a culture of violence. Because you have the youth culture, but it also gets mixed in with a culture of violence. Maybe it's a gang culture, maybe it's even a poverty culture. When all those things mix together,
Well, kids are getting pulled so many ways.
right. That's a lot of stress for a young person.
Right. I mean, we
So-
lived in a small town before, and my son was getting pulled into being golfing, track. He was an athlete, but it affected his grades. I mean, it affects your friends. I mean, peer pressure, especially, is to me the number one problem with our youth. It's just like you got to do something bad to be part of the group. I mean, and they're not even thinking it's bad. They're just saying, I just want to be liked.
Right.
I want this person to be my friend. So, okay, what's it going to take?
Yeah,
Like you said, they got all this stuff going
Go
on
steal
in their
that bag of
minds.
chips from the convenience store.
Right. So they get busted, but they're not going to snitch on their friend because otherwise they're not going to be liked or they're going to be considered a snitch.
Right.
And not only that, but I mean, if you look at it, and my daughter, she's been showing me all these different things that have been coming up, where even the older ones, all the things the challenges that they put out here for the kids, they have the challenges, like, for example, the one where the kids were setting themselves on fire. I mean, that's ridiculous, I mean, why? What makes you think that's a good idea? Or the one where they were trying to stop them from breathing and thinking that they could stop them from breathing and coming back to life after they can just stop their heart from beating for a couple of minutes and bring them back. I agree with everything here. It's just been a lot of peer pressure, and even at Coach's Place, we don't actually have a program set up or anything right now, but these are things that we do have in the works as far as what can we do to do something like that as well, because we've dealt with kids for many, many years, from the aspect of coaching and dealing with kids there. We've coached girls, we've coached boys, we've coached them from third grade all the way up to finishing high school, so we've dealt with them in that aspect. We've also dealt with them in the aspect of at church, because of the fact that Coach here he's a deacon, and being a deacon, he's dealt with kids that way. We've worked with the youth groups at church as well, so we've dealt with kids in so many ways that's something that we also have available, and we try to do. And yes, like you say, kids come in sometimes and they play video games, and I know I myself make it a habit that when they come in and they sit there and they're just kind of closed down and they don't say anything, I'll walk over and I'll just start talking to them. So
Right.
how's it going? What's going on?
And they come to your place because they feel there's a trust there.
Exactly, yeah. And so we try to do that, and we allow them to talk. We try to talk with them, I mean, and that's what we've done even with our kids. Like Danelle has said, it's a family business. So with everybody there, we've tried to make them where they all know, because sometimes, a kid can relate to a younger person sometimes faster than they can with an older person.
Well, it's
So,
also good for kids to see families.
yes.
See good family chemistry. I mean, I've been a single mom for 30-some years, and I've taken my kids wherever I've went, and we'd have tournament. We'd be in tournaments, basketball tournaments and stuff. No parents are there.
Right.
Nobody's in the stands.
Exactly.
Your kid's in a championship game. They expect me. I'm feeding them. And I did this on my own. I didn't care, but you know what? Those are the kids that are on my Facebook. Those are the kids, if I need something, I'll pick up the phone. They're there for me. When my son died, these kids came out of the woodwork. They still can't believe that Steve did it, But like my son said, Mom, you're a mom to a lot of kids. And that's not a bad thing, because if kids can trust me, that's fine with me. And different societies, like I work at the YMCA out with Millard kids. Everybody's like, why are you with the Millard kids? Why are you not, down north? Because, most of the stuff I do is with the north or south kids. Because it is a totally different group of kids, And like I said, the highest rated teen suicides are Millard South. The highest rated teen pregnancies, Millard North, but everybody always thinks it's Omaha. And then I deal with the racism part, where the group will come in from the Maple Street Y to play some kids from Millard West or whatever, and the parents go remove to the other side of the room. Oh, no. So I will deal with that, No, it's really bad, and it's vice versa. It's the same thing. They all stick in their little groups or whatever, but everybody should be as one, So you always consider Millard Omaha, Ralston, Bellevue, but it's all Omaha.
Well,
You know.
I like what you're bringing up to just about the messages that we send kids. You said kids are pulled a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of social factors and all sorts of factors weighing on our kids. Really, it is about messages. And like I even think of a like Coach's Place, even a place like that as a caring adult, just enough to go out of your way to talk to maybe a kid that you observe is having a difficult time. What that does is it might undo a message. They're getting assailed with messages about being selfish, about messages about pleasing you and you only, messages about hurting people, messages about just not being valued, that they're not valued.
Yeah.
And so when they get that from whether it's media, the peer culture, whatever they're engaged with when they're getting that, what it takes is members of our community to come together and undo that message. So if they go to a place like Coach's Place and one of the staff cares enough to engage a young person, sometimes we don't realize that's all it takes to turn that kid's life around,
Exactly.
to instill a message of hope to them. Hey, someone does care.
Right.
And so a lot of times, when we try to engage our community and say, hey, man, there's stuff that we can do, together is better. Together is better. Collaboration is better. But even just in our day-to-day, there's things that we can do just to go out of our way, check in on that family member we know that's struggling, that's an adolescent, or when we see the neighbor kid, just go talk to them, see how they're doing. Work with organizations, support organizations that do this. You can do that every single day. And what you're trying to do is the way that you interact with young people, you're trying to undo that message. And like at the Hope Center, that's why we're the Hope Center. Like we're trying to instill the message of hope through faith, collaboration, education, and employment every single day. And all we do in every interaction we have with young people, if they've received those negative messages, those self-destructive messages, and those messages of worthlessness and no value, we are attempting to undo those through our relationship and the message that we're trying to communicate to them.
That's a good thing I do at the Y too, Everybody wonder why I do what I do. But, when you see kids out there,
Why not?
I've had Down syndrome kids. I've had kids with, with brain damage and different things. And one of my goals at the very last game of the year, everybody scores a basket. Everybody hits the ball over the net during volleyball. Because I tell these coaches that's going to make or break their confidence. I might let another kid move up 5 feet just so they hit it, and all of a sudden you see the smile on their face, and guess what? You can move them back 5 feet, and they're going to hit it over. So I'm very fortunate that I get to do that with the Y. I mean, I would do that, when I worked with the boys club coach there and different things. But that's something that's going to make or break a kid's life. And you guys with Coach's Place, that's a good thing you got going on. It's a business, but you're also making a difference to people. People don't understand that. That's why I said, I feel like sometimes the YMCA is a babysitting service, and it really is. You think people drop kids off to our places just because, sorry, but parents, it's an easy way out for them, but we can make a difference, but we also got to get through to the homes because parents, I mean, come on now.
Right.
I mean, you can say, well, I'm at home with my kid. Yeah, but what are you doing?
Right.
You're upstairs. You're doing your thing. Where's your kid? Okay, you buy him a game system. You buy him a computer. They're in their room. What are they doing? They're watching how kids kill themselves. Okay? Whatever happened to family dinners and all that, We have a rule in my house. When we go out to dinner, we go wherever we go, cell phones go off. Bam.
I wish I could do that.
No, just do it.
Like a rule
Just
my
do
wife
it.
has.
You just
We
do
make
it.
them put them phones down.
Yeah, you just do it. I mean, that will make a big difference, And my son gets on me, Mom, come on now, you're on your phone.
I have seen an easy way to combat that. I've seen it on Facebook. So if you're out with a group of people,
It's ironic.
everybody puts their phone down,
Stack
and the
them on
first
top of each
person
other.
to pick the phone up has to pay the bill
Right.
for everybody.
That sounds like it might end badly in some situations.
Guess what? We're all doing dishes.
I say I'd be sitting there for 2, 3 in the morning. I ain't paying that bill. Sorry. I ain't paying that bill. No, I'm kidding.
No, but the best way I got through, I don't believe in spanking kids and doing all that. I just don't. That's just me. But I think the best way to get through to a kid, take something away from them. Take their game system away. Boy, did that work wonders with my child. I'm telling you, because they will do anything.
But you have to think a little more. Just the game system, and they keep their cell phone.
But then you got to keep taking
Gotta
things
keep
away,
taking-
and then they got to earn them back.
Earn it. That's
They
right.
got to earn it back.
Well, and I think I learned this past weekend that rewards help as well.
Oh, definitely.
Because with my girls, so usually we would have jujitsu Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock until 12, so our morning was shot. We had that every week. Before that, me and my daughter were volunteering every other week at the Open Door Mission. So the schedule just changed, and this was the first, last 2 weeks, was the first free Saturdays that we've had in I don't know how long. So my youngest daughter asked me on Saturday, "Are we going somewhere today?" I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. If you and your sister start cleaning up the mess that you made in the living room, I'll find some place fun for us to go." And at first, the younger one, she didn't want to do it. But after the older one was like, "Hey, come on, I want to go somewhere."
You're right.
It worked. We cleaned up a little bit. We went to Mangelson's. They had a little Halloween thing going on with the Frozen people, and not people who were frozen, but the movie Frozen.
Now, not having younger kids, I still knew what you were talking about. So.
Just in case. But yeah, so I think they really enjoyed that. And I told them, I said, back when I was a kid, on Saturday mornings, that was cleaning day. So, I mean, you might get your cartoons in, but after or before,
Yeah,
you
but,
clean
you
it
know,
up.
I was noticed on Facebook, too, and here we talk about Facebook media, but they're saying, where are the cartoons?
Oh, boy, them cartoons
Where
nowadays.
are the cartoons? You know, I'll tell you what, my favorite channel is MeTV. You give me, my son will go, what are you watching? The Rifleman, Bonanza. I like old school stuff, but, you know, we're the Jetsons and the Flintstones. You know, now you have these cartoons I'm turning on, I'm like, they're teaching them how to blow each other up.
Some days, some Saturdays, I get the itch to do a throwback Saturday cartoons with my girls, and I do it on my Small Guy Promotions Facebook page. But I'll just go through and I'll get some Ninja Turtles are the favorite, of course. But I'll get some Ninja Turtles, some X-Men, maybe some Woody Woodpecker, Dennis the Menace,
Right.
stuff like that. And we'll sit there before I post them and watch the episodes like old school style. So,
But it's not old school because it's new to them.
oh yeah,
You know, and they're wondering why we're sitting there laughing our heads off. They're like, I don't get it, because it's a whole different. But I was noticing that somebody said, where'd the cartoons go? You know? I mean, they have the weirdest stuff on television for kids, so what are they doing? They're downloading music. You know, they're doing their thing.
Every
And
kid's
some
got
of
an
the music,
iPod.
that's a whole different show. But some of the music, you know, they have too. But this can be monitored, you know. We were talking about bullying last week, you know, they about monitoring, you know, your kid's Facebook page and stuff. But, you know, the kids also have rights. They have rights, and they want to feel like something's theirs, you know. So by getting passwords and getting all that, that's fine and okay. But you got to let them know you're doing it for one. And the reason you're doing it, don't just say, I want your password, you know. Let them know why you're doing it, because people are putting bad things out there, and I don't want you to be a part of it. I always tell people, make people feel like you need them more than they need you. You know what I'm saying? Like we're doing, you know, because it makes you feel better. You know, and that's kind of weird to say that, but, you know, working with mentally challenged adults, both my kids work there, it makes you realize the littlest things are very important. You know, they will work all day doing the thing that we would think, well, I would never do that, just stirring a pot. But that's their reward, like you said, rewards, you know. And people need to look more on the positive, not on the negative. You know, you come home, you know you're tired from work, so what do? You snap at your kid. You need to check yourself before you walk in the door, because the way you act is the way the kids are going to react. You know?
Right, and even just kind of hearing about that, we're talking about rewards and positive, negative consequences, and supporting parents in the home. That's also something, you know, that I feel is very important for young people today, for those that work with kids and just those that have families. Is, you know, parenting looked different decades ago because society looked different decades ago. So I feel like, you know, I'm not knocking anyone for because there's no like book that writes parenting, but that says like this is what you absolutely need to do. But behaviors do have theory behind them, and behaviors, even beyond theory, some behaviors just have rules, and how we develop behaviors and how kids develop the use of behavior, and it really starts and stops with the parents. It starts and
Exactly.
stops at home, and to support that, parents, I would hope in our community would begin to have an understanding that what worked 30, 40 years ago might not work nowadays
Correct.
the way to a T like it did back in the day, because you are dealing with so much more. So there are resources out there for parents. Like Hope Center, I said, we kind of use a Boys Town model. Like Boys Town has what's called a common sense parenting, which is like a curriculum that parents can just educate themselves with. There's free classes in the community. There's books and things that you can purchase just to educate yourself with different tools, because the tools to do the job might look different nowadays. So there's no shame in taking what you already have. If you're an old school type of parent, there's no shame in that, nothing wrong with that. But just to realize that educate yourself of what kids are facing nowadays, and that there are new techniques and there's different tools based on behavioral studies, based on studies of how society has changed and how youth culture has changed. There's resources you can get to educate yourself with that. And that's what we're learning at the Hope Center. Hope Center 15 years ago dealt with things different than the Hope Center does now. We
Right.
realize that the collaboration is so much more important to increase supports for kids, and that what we teach, whether it's skills or whether it's Bible study or whether it's just the time we spend with the kids, we need to maximize that time in relationship, because kids are facing a lot. They have access and they're facing a lot more than maybe they were 15, 20, 30 years ago.
We were kind of talking about that last week. We were talking about that, how OPS handles bullying. I'm not going to put the blame on OPS because they don't handle it the right way. I'm saying maybe the teachers aren't taught how to handle that. And we were talking about that
It's tough.
OPS,
Right,
the
and
new
it's tough.
the new thing when you vote here in a couple of weeks. They have this bill
The
they want
bond.
passed.
Yep.
And there's not enough resource officers in the school.
Correct.
There's not enough, they need to have discussions amongst the teachers on how to handle bullying. Bullying could be sexual abuse, child abuse, physical, mental, verbal. To me, and we were talking about abuse earlier, that all that is bullying. If the parent smacks, the father hits the wife, the kid's going to think it's okay to hit a girl. And that's bullying. You might not call it that. That's whatever you want to call it. But to me, all that is bullying. But right now, bullying leads to so much more than you said 15, 20 years ago. How often did you ever hear of a child killing themselves? Or drugs are so accessible right now. The sniffing, the aerosol can, whatever they do, that wasn't accessible, and you weren't taught that on the internet. We didn't have internet.
Correct. Let me give you a little information. I don't know if you are aware of it, but since we're talking about bullying, we just signed a little small contract or agreement with one of the middle schools, Lewis and Clark, where this gentleman has the programs that you're speaking of at the Hope Center. And what they're doing is they set up classes from the time they get out of school. For each hour, they set up different classes for the kids as well as the parents can come in. And that was something that I didn't know existed. I'm not saying it's there for every school, but some schools do have that. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, how can we help you? Well, one thing about video games, pretty much a lot of kids love video games in one way or another. So what we decided to do was go in partnership with them and say, okay, once a quarter, we need you to give us your best 2 kids that sit and listens and learns. And we're going to give them a $25 scholarship. And then at the end of the year, we're going to give them a party on Coach's Place. And we want them to use that as an incentive to help these kids stop and think about what you do every day, every moment. Because bullying happens every second of the day.
Right.
In reality, it does. And it doesn't stop just at the kids' level. They grow up to be bullies as
Right.
adults, and adults be bullies. So I have to agree with you. You have to change their mindset. You have to get them to think, oh, wait a minute, that's just wrong. And if you don't get them to think about it and be aware of what they're doing, it'll continue to go on.
Right.
But like I said, I wanted to let you know that OPS themselves are not doing it. I think it's other people in the community, like the Hope Center And over the summer, we had opportunity just, since it was our first summer, we went into a few places like Omaha Housing Authority. We went to Kroc Center, and we went to Adams Park. We went a couple of places to see if this is something we could do to reach out and help different centers and communities. And we got overwhelmed that everybody kept asking us when we weren't there, why you didn't come to us? We didn't know anything about you. Well, we're just learning too. So this station here, that what we're doing now, is going to help us to reach out to more and more. I definitely applaud y'all at the Hope Center, because we used to give money a couple of years ago, especially. That's where I used to practice at, was the Hope Center.
That's right. Yeah.
So we only have a couple of minutes left. I just want to make sure, if I'm a guy who wants to find out about the Hope Center, where should I go to learn about the Hope Center?
That's a great question, Danelle. We have a website, hopecenterforkids.com, all lowercase, all spelled out. Also 341-HOPE, that's 402-341-HOPE. Feel free to give a call as well. And you can talk to me. My name is Jason McGee. I'm the program director. Would love to answer any questions anyone has.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Okay, I still think, and anybody else who would like to be on our show, bring up topics. We try to bring up topics that aren't brought up. And I think we definitely did that here tonight. So, see, as a group, we didn't all know each other. But now we have the same common goal. So I would like to put the invitation out there to other people who would like to, bring up topics, because right now we're not censored, about topics. Because you can say, we need input from the community. Mm-hmm. So as a group, I can go to OPS and say, okay, we have this group of people. Let's do this whiteout. I'm still determined I'm going to get this done. We have the group. We can get the Hope Center involved, get the Boys Club involved, get you guys involved, and bring up topics. Bullying. You won't believe this lady we had last week. She said she went to a volleyball game, and she brought up she was going to come to the show and talk about bullying. And the parents are like, oh, yeah, my daughter gets bullied, my daughter gets bullied, my daughter gets bullied. Mm-hmm. But what's anybody doing about it? So we can bring this up as bullying. We can bring it up as peer pressure. So many different things we can do, but just take baby steps.
Yep.
But we need to let these kids know, and parents and teachers. There's no reason why Lewis Clark's the only school out there doing that. But that's because somebody took the initiative on their own to do this. Mm-hmm. Now, OPS will jump on that, learn it as a model, and see what they can do. So, all right, well, I want to thank everybody for coming on. I learned some things, and I learned about Coach's Place, and I'm going to refer people to you. Hope Center, you're part of my heart. I've always had a deep thing for the Hope Center. Pastor King will tell you that. You didn't know that, but now you do. Always. My co-host, awesome having you here.
Yep, and are you?
Yep.
I just want to say, if you do have questions or comments, go ahead to our Facebook page, leave your question or your comment. We'll make sure to try to address it as soon as we can. But leave that on there. We'd like to hear what you think about the show. If you thought it was good, bad, whether it's negative, well, don't be too negative.
What's your Facebook called?
Surviving Life's Tribulations.
And we're going to get that link updated, so that'll be the backspace.
And this show is taped, so we'll put the link on Facebook and on his page and stuff that you can go back and show it to people, or people could say, hey, yeah, we're on a show. They can go back and see this anytime. And our past shows also. So we've had some very good people on here, our past shows. We talked about breast cancer, all different kinds of things. And I'm always going to hit on the topic of suicide because that's my passion. I think some of this could be prevented. All the different things we talked about, that's all part of it. So, okay, well, thank you very much. And next week, we're going to have...
Thank you guys for being here.
We're going to have...
so much.
We're going to be talking about blended families in the next, couple weeks. And we're talking about breast cancer, some different things. And if anybody has a topic they want brought up or they want to be on the show, go on our Facebook page and just let me know. Okay?
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good night. Thank you. God bless you. Good night.